basically what I was saying is, again, if I was to create a foundational, fundamental, practical thing to do, is to literally start creating out an image, right? And some people may think to themselves, well, it may look difficult or daunting, but we do it every single day. We feed ourselves information and we create new imagery in our mind, or we rehash or internalize deeper things that we already have in there, right? So that then comes down to, what are you consuming? What are you feeding your mind? Are you listening to Carrie and her podcast? Are you listening to some ratchetness, somewhere else? Like, again, I'm not here to judge. You can listen to the ratchet if you want, but just know you're going to get the ratchet results, right?
Ooh,
Ratchet behavior, ratchet
that's
result, ratchet
good.
content. So that's really up to you. Again, it's when you are in a space like Carrie was, like I was, where you're so sick and tired, be sick and tired. Like, it's basically, you don't even care what's on the other side anymore. You just have to be out of this. When you're in that place, you're willing to do anything, right? That's why I
Like
read
sign your
all the books.
name, sign your name on a whole lease. I mean,
That part.
on a whole mortgage.
Yes, correct. Correct. You will sign your name on a whole mortgage in order just to get out of that situation. So if you have that will that's driving you, that power, that force, what we oftentimes don't understand about willpower is actually the will is purpose is to redirect thought. So we use will to fight action, right? But everything is produced from thought. Everything produced from thought, and then the thought produces emotion, and then the emotion compels our actions, right? So don't also resist and fight like the way that things are built, that process of how we are as humans, which is we think a thing, right? Just like if you're going to create something, right? I think about the thing, meditate about it. Oh, I start to feel, and then I start to act. That's why willpower oftentimes falls short. If I don't work with the mind first, then I'll act, do, and I find myself right in the very same place, right?
Yeah.
So I would tell that version of me right there. I was about to say my government name, but I don't need time for all that. I would tell that young man right there to say, start to create a new image of yourself. And it even started as simple as this for me. When I started creating a new image for myself, let's say just physique wise, right? I had tried to put on muscle for years before that, right? And I just had the story of like, I'm just like naturally like real skinny and I'm just this and it's impossible. Food goes in and, it's going to evaporate, right? As soon as I get it in. So I had all these stories, but really the stories were just based off of this image I had of myself, of this skinny kid or whatever, right? And so my actions would always be compelled to, let's say I get on a real good routine, then I find some excuse to stop, right? Or I wouldn't do the necessary things or the exact things or whatever it was. But 2 years ago now, December 2021 is the first time I made a decision to actually start to shift how I saw myself and to really envision that. And I promise you, like within the last year and a half, I done put on more muscle than I have in my entire life, right? Put together in a very, very short time, to the point where I can, in some cases, put on 2 pounds and, in a month, et cetera. And, bodybuilders know how hard that is with muscle,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that fat will come fast, real fast, but that muscle is slow. It's shy. It's shy. So I use that as like a surface level of what's going on within you. You really have to create, like, who are you? Who do you want to be? You're really creating yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, when Carrie's talking about like, I had never asked myself, is because we're going off of, again, everybody else's projection or image of what they have for us now. This is who she's supposed to be. So he has an image of what a wife or what a girlfriend or whatever is supposed to be in his head. And so if you don't have an image for what you want to be, his will is going to be imposed upon you,
Yeah.
right? So a person who sees himself as somebody who respects themselves and only puts up with certain stuff, as soon as they see somebody who's controlling, oh hell no. No, that's not me. That's not my image. But if you see
It's so
yourself
good.
as humble servant, serving all, helping all, fixer of all, if that's how you see yourself, then the next relationship right outside the door, waiting for
All
you.
the way here for
Perfect
it.
person.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, that practical step of creating image, I I have always been an individual who want to uncover to get to the foundation, because it's like we're told, okay, positive thinking, right? Like, yes, that's a step, but then that's also missing the emotional aspect, because thoughts only, they save and store, in this microchip of your brain with emotion. That's what a trauma is. It's an image
Yes.
that is coupled with an heightened negative emotion that then sticks.
Yep.
So the thought itself is incomplete. The emotion itself is more powerful, but it still is incomplete, right? So when we, again, start to become conscious creators of this vision of who we want to become, and I started literally see myself as a peaceful person, like meditate. I'm telling you, like, for real, I literally started seeing myself as a meditator, even in situations, like I started rehearsing differently, because we all have that conversation in our head. Before we get to work, we're already fighting people. That's an image you're creating and you're manifesting, right? And then you wonder why every time you show up at the job, they got an attitude.
Yep.
We're literally unconsciously creating. So it's like I started seeing myself engaging with life different, interacting with life differently, right? But beyond all that, every one of these aspects is pointless if you are not going to cultivate the relationship with yourself, which is spending time in solitude. I know you're a mama, you got babies. I know you got two and a half, like, you know what I mean? I understand. And I empathize with that. But I promise you, like, you find a time in the day to go on Instagram at the very least, or to go on TikTok, or to go on. There's a little time that you have where you can be like, you know what? I can cultivate some time for me.
And the things that you prioritize are the things you're going to find time for, because you have time. You just have to figure out where it is. And I'll say this too, that you'll find, because I just recently started, I shouldn't say recently, but I started yoga not too long ago by my therapist's request. And the reason was because I said, my brain knows, and my understanding is there, and I'm working on the core beliefs, like all of that exists, but my body has a visceral response that I cannot control. So my teeth would chatter and I would shake, because I was in and out of court with the same person that we were talking about, and sitting in the waiting area, my body would shake. And I was so frustrated, because I was like, why is it happening? Like, I'm not afraid. And she was like, perhaps it's because your body no longer knows what calm feels like. And I was like, excuse me, what? So perhaps your brain has never known what peace feels like. So how do you expect it to get to a place of peace if you've never actually trained it to be there? So when I started doing yoga, I made the commitment to myself, which is in alignment with what you're saying. Is it easy to find 30 minutes every day to do yoga? No. Is it easy to also meditate and do the yoga? No, it's not, right? There's so many other things that pull me and need my time. And I made the commitment to myself knowing that I was going to have to pull from somewhere. So I figured it out. I said, okay, usually once you put the kids to bed from like 9 to 9:30, you're scrolling anyway. So let's delete that scroll and let's find calm in your body. And when I tell you it was like magic, it was like magic.
Yes.
And here is the result of that. You know how you get to the end of the day and you're so tired because you're dealing from this space of lack. Your brain is so chaotic. Your body has been expending all of this energy because it doesn't know how to feel calm. Your brain doesn't know how to feel peace. So you're short with people and you're frustrated when you're doing all of these things. Guess what happens when you take that 30 minutes? You're not expending that same type of energy.
Correct.
You can go, oh, 12-year-old, you're about to get real crazy right now, but guess what? I got the Zen up in here, so I'm gonna just go inward, right? And you don't have that conflict that you would have had and expend that energy that you would have expended before, because you trained yourself how to experience calm.
Oh, that's okay. There's two. I gotta get into this. So when you talked about like the whole day, you got all this activity going on, right? So I want you to think about a laptop and you open up all these tabs. So by the end of the day, you got 100 tabs open. Meditation is closing the tabs. Looking at each tab and saying, do I need it actually? And then closing the tab. You know what I mean? That's what that's doing for you. And again, that's the beauty of when you step into that light. Like first, yes, you have to acknowledge the dark, but once you start to cultivate that peace, it is exponential, right? So things in life compound, which means they don't just go 1 + 1. They go 1 times, 2, 2 times 2, 4 times 4, 8 times 8, 16 times 16. That's about where I stopped, but that's all right.
It's like the gremlins.
That's correct. Exactly. They're multiplied. It multiplies. literally the peace within you will multiply. And if you're somebody, you know, from the church or something like that, you know, in the Bible, it talks multitudes of times about the multiplication of peace, right? Of joy, etc. Right? More life, the abundance of life. That's what it's referring to. That's that inner peace. I will give you rest. It's not rest sleeping. Most people sleep and never rested a day in their life, you know?
Woo.
So I really wanted to also tap into like breaking the habit of being you. Dr. Joe Dispenza is probably one of the foremost individuals in this space, right? Brilliant, brilliant individual. And he has a series of books. I mean, you got all kinds of stuff out there, but he's a person who has gotten results not only for himself, but hundreds of thousands at this point, I'm guessing, of people like healed from chronic ailments and this, that, and the third, right? All this. Because we think about, but you don't understand, I'm sick, but you don't understand that. It's like, no, all these things are byproducts of the fact that you're not cultivating that peace. The body at a state of equilibrium, body at a state of ease cannot have dis-ease, right? It's at a state of disorder or disharmony because you are not allowing yourself to cultivate and get into that space, into that natural state of being, right? The body is always healing, perpetually looking to heal. We get in the way.
There it is.
So breaking the habit of being ourself is the most fundamental aspect of cultivating a lifetime of peace and multitude. Because as Carrie was sitting in the lobby room of that court, there was a habit of being her old self that was in the body still, right? It was simply addicted to that chemical. It was like, okay, she's doing all this work now. She's doing all, hey, we need our hit of anger. We need our hit of resentment. Where's our bitterness right now?
Yeah.
We need bitterness, right? That's why, you know, you go through a day, you're like, I didn't cuss nobody out. I went in traffic, they cut me off. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I was different today. All of a sudden, your brain is like, wait a minute. Okay. And then the body says, hey, we need our hit of anger right now. Are we going to get our hit of anger? Get us some anger. And so you don't know that the body has now become used to being the mind.
Yes.
Right? So it sends that response mechanism to the brain. Now the brain is bringing up thoughts. Okay, thoughts in the cabinets. Okay,
so
we go through the cabinets. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. We got some anger right here. Remember that situation that happened last week? All right, bring that up. There we go.
Drop there it is.
Boom. Yes. All of a sudden, the body gets a visceral. Now we're thinking, oh, now we meditate on that. And so our power is in those moments. And do we choose to engage or not? And again, what meditation does for us is it allows us to become so consciously aware. Because some of us think, no, I'm aware, I have self-awareness. There's a difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness. You know, like if you're in the spiral, you think, oh, I know I'm in the spiral. That's different from when you're looking at the spiral from above. It's like, oh, that's a spiral, right?
Yes.
And so when you become, again, conscious of these different emotions and even how they feel and how they respond in the body, et cetera, and their causes, you also start to take back that power. Because just like you were sitting in that courtroom, if that had been you a year ago before that, or 2 years ago, man, you would have just thought, nah, this dude, I can't believe I just want to, you would have not been able to disconnect to say, my feeling is coming from the thoughts that I'm having about the situation, right? And there's this, you know, little phrase that I like to throw out there. It's probably downloaded from somewhere. I don't take credit for anything I say because at some point, somebody source downloaded everything, right? Source files, go to the cloud. But I say, like, there's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is a physiological response and it is natural. Suffering is a psychological choice and it is unnatural.
You know, I'm writing that down.
Oh, come on now. Come on now. We came to preach and teach today. For both. And
that's so good.
You know what I mean? So most of us are in the space of we're consistently suffering because of the story that we're telling ourselves about the pain.
That's it.
So, okay. So I walk into a room and all these people I've never met before, let's say it's a party situation, right? Let me draw a picture for you. So I walk into this party. I know nobody, maybe one person who bought me. They leave me. Now all of a sudden I'm in there in the corner by myself. So I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, they probably think I'm stupid. They probably think I'm this, like, probably think I'm a loser. I'm a loner. Like, I don't even know anybody here. And then somebody looks at me, glares at me, and I say, see, I knew it. See, I knew. They thought, see that look right there. And the story I'm telling myself is now causing me to have this visceral reaction, right? It's literally simply a story I'm telling me that's now causing my suffering in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can take that and extend it to every aspect of our lives, right? Oh man, my kids yelling in public right now. Everybody probably thinks I'm a terrible parent. I'm the worst parent ever. I don't know how to control my kids. I ain't got no discipline. You're telling yourself all of this, and now you're suffering, right? So again, bringing it back to like these tangible steps. Okay, how do I break the habit of being myself? These tools that we're highlighting are literally helping you to break that addiction to who you used to be, because there is an addiction, right? It served a multitude of reasons. Why are you addicted to anger? Because when you're a kid, it's the only way you felt that you could finally take any control. Why are you addicted to guilt? Is because you felt that a guilty conscience was, helping you to survive in whatever environment that you're in, right? And that was still even a belief, right? And again, we don't fault ourselves, etc. We just observe that and say, and you have to start at this point. And I had to, because I'm somebody who, I keep it real myself. I said, bro, like, do you actually want to get rid of this?
Yep.
Sometimes I've said, no, not yet. Not that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that one around for a little bit. Do you still want to be offended by everything people do? I said a little bit. and then I can get to a level with it. Yeah, until the pain is too much. And then I'm like, okay, nah, like this has to go. Gotta go. I don't care what it means. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like also being real myself. It's like somebody saying, oh, I want a 6-pack abs. I say, are you sure? Are you sure? Nah, okay, it's cool. You don't have to don't come on, brother. You don't have to not me. Just tell me straight up. If you don't want it, it's okay. Go eat the cheesecakes and this and that. But if you want the 6-pack, here is this prescription. Right? Yeah. This is what it's gonna take. Yeah. And so again, it also has to start at that place. It's like, if this is something that you want, if peace is something that you desire more than anything else, and if you're watching or listening to this, it's because you do have that yearning within you, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have anything else in conclusion, but any questions that you might have?
The one thing that I was going to say based on what you said is, you talked earlier about, you going through that addiction and then you going through the withdrawals. And when you change that chemical release, it feels very much like that. Like, I don't know what to do with a body at rest. Yes. I don't know what to do with that because I'm so addicted to these chemicals. And so to that, I'll say, you have to trust the process. Like, it's going to be so uncomfortable. You are going to feel alone because sometimes you have to leave and cleave because the people that you had in your chaos might not be able to come into your peace, right? And so setting boundaries is, for a people pleaser, is one of the hardest things to do, especially even if you know that they're for you because you feel bad doing it. Like, all of that exists. But the last thing that I really want to hone in on is your diet is more than the food you consume.
Oh, okay. Hey, hold up. You got to chill right now. Okay. On Wednesday, literally this Wednesday, I had an entire pod with Coach Bobby Blueford, who you should definitely have on this podcast. I'm definitely gonna recommend him. He's a must individual. He's a rare specimen of a person. Okay. And the episode was "You Are What You Eat" mentally. Oh, so it's so wild good. That you say that. It's so oh my goodness. Okay. Please, no, please dig. Please.
But when we think about diet, we think about the food that we're consuming. And if we're being honest, our willpower can't even get us to control that. Exactly. Right? So when you're thinking about what you want and what you're willing to let go of, and that self-assessment, you have to think about how your diet is feeding the thing that you want to be rid of. So like when you were talking earlier about building muscle, well, you can't build muscle if you're not eating copious amounts of protein. It ain't gonna happen. Correct. So you can add excessive carbs and you can add all the vegetables, but if you don't put in that protein, your muscles are not going to build. And so your diet was connected to the product, right? Yes. And you knew that what you consumed was going to get you to that goal. And the same thing is true of this. I can't say I want a healthy love life, but then be out here watching craziness on Netflix, because what I'm feeding myself is that this is normal, whether I want it or not. This is normal, right? if I'm reading romance novels and I'm talking about wanting a healthy love, I'm never going to see that that romance novel is just as toxic as this abuse novel over here.
Oh,
They're not
talk
real.
about it.
They're not real. They're not real. If you go into a relationship and you've put this person on that high of a pedestal that they can't even make a mistake, then that's going to be a toxic relationship because they're going to be forever trying to earn your love, and you're going to be placing unrealistic expectations on them that, if we're being honest, came from your core belief because your mama or your daddy didn't love you right. So now you have this person fulfilling the gap that has been created by something that they weren't even present for.
Oh my God.
So stop watching those things. Stop reading those
so
things.
good.
That
Talk
is your
about it.
diet, right? Like,
Talk about it.
it's
Yes.
so frustrating when you're in that space and you look back at all the things you fed yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no wonder this is what I thought. No wonder this is what I felt.
You know what's so crazy is, I don't know if you know about like this whole red pill movement and stuff like that. Like there's like a manosphere, and basically it's like, it's this cult, I say, ideology of like women run the world and they're really the ones like controlling and pulling strings, and therefore like men are, you know what I mean? Like the burden of performance and all these ideas, and like how women are hypergamous and they will leave you as soon as whatever. So all of this ideology. So imagine this, like I was a young dude listening to this, and yet I was wondering why I thought every woman was a cheater. Like, come on, bro. Like, so you gonna listen to people all day long telling you like women are shady, women are scandalous, they'll leave you for the next whatever, next best thing, etc. And yet you expect to have trust. Come on, bro. Like that
there it
was one of the
is.
first realizations I had when I was like, oh, my relationships are completely being molded by, again, content, but also the conversations, right? Because some of us also don't like to acknowledge that. You calling your homegirl every time and you complaining and blaming and shaming, and then you expect, oh, 15 minutes of meditation, but 2 hours on the phone with your girl. About what? You're just rehashing the same story, becoming the same person. So what you're saying, man, that is gas. That's a bar. Please put that as 100 reels, because that needs to go out to the masses right there. The romance book, the this, the that, these perceptions that you're creating, everything you feed on is creating you at a cellular level. You know, they used to say like, they used to say every 7 years, like your body reforms itself, but now they're saying every 11 months, every cell in your body is regenerated, right?
Yeah.
So the body I'm creating for a year from now is being built by what I'm consuming at this very moment.
Yeah.
So again, you know, it's funny because the only argument I really hear about this is people who say, you know, well, like you got to have some fun in moderation. I say, okay, do you like chaos in moderation? Do you like toxicity in moderation? If you do, then go ahead, go write about it. Do you like arsenic in your water in moderation? If you do, go right ahead, because that's what that is. Plant a seed and something shall grow.
Amen to that.
Right? We think these things are made. Do you know, like, they call it television programming, right? What we think that's about?
There it is.
You think they're doing it for fun? You think these advertisers aren't spending billions of dollars because they understand what's going on in your psyche? So I'm on this thing, and I can choose to tap into or program myself now. I can choose what I'm conditioning myself with. I can literally transform myself into the person that I epitomize, or the very thing that I loathe.
Yes.
And it's happening every single time. Just like, again, every meal is having a visceral reaction on the body. Every thought, emotion that you're entertaining is having a visceral reaction on your body. There is a response to all thoughts. And again, and this is, you know, to get into what you talked about with pieces from within, we have to realize that if you are externally focused, right, stimuli focused, so you're looking at images, and those images are creating thoughts in your head, which are, again, stored images. And then that image is now creating an emotional response in your body. And you're having 60 to 80,000 of those a day. 60 to 80,000. Do you think that ain't gonna have an effect on you?
Come on now. And it seems so obvious, but it didn't seem obvious to me before.
Of course, because
and
we're in denial.
Yeah, we're in denial, and we want what we want, regardless of what the consequences of that thing are, right? And that's where the in moderation comes in, because we think, well, like I can still do it if I do it in moderation, but moderation leads to excess. Everyone knows that. Like, it's not going to stay in moderation. So for the listeners, one thing that I would encourage you to do when you're on the self-assessment process, because that diet piece is going to be a big piece. Like
Yes.
really committing to being gentle with yourself, and also really thinking about what you're consuming. I encourage you to go to your social media and look at
Yes.
the ads and the suggested follows, because that will tell you where
Wow.
your brain is. That
That's so
algorithm
good.
is specifically created for you.
For you. That's
Yes.
right. Yes. And your
Yes.
life is the algorithm itself.
Yes.
Like they say, we talk about manifestation, and I say like life or your mind is your algorithm, right? You feed your mind something and then you attract things based on the algorithm that's
Yes.
playing in your thought process.
There it
So
is.
so it extends into your real life. But I love that because I love self-reflections like this. It's like check your bank account, check your social media account. You can't run from that. You
And you
can't run
can't,
from it.
and if we want to go a step further, what you're
Yeah.
talking about, if you don't have the settings changed on your phone, now the ads are there. So what you're literally purchasing to consume comes from the speaking that you're doing out into the air. So if you plan for peace, you have to assess all of those things first and look at where it comes from. If you're a negative person, what's that core belief that's causing that negativity? Because it's there. What's the
Absolutely.
conditioning? And don't go blaming your mama and your dad, because I
No.
told that story about my 12-year-old self. It is not her responsibility to reparent me, it's mine. So every time I have that feeling to react like a 12-year-old would, I have to talk to myself. I have to say, hey, listen, I know you don't feel like you're important right now.
Wow.
And I say to her what I wish someone would have said to me when I was 12. So if you're in this space and you're frustrated with yourself, and you're blaming other people for the frustration that you have with yourself, you'll never get to peace, because there's so much blame flying around that there's no actual responsibility, like you were talking about earlier, to make the changes. So those are the things that I really just want to
So
encourage you
good.
to do.
So by the way, you said plan for peace. I don't know. That's some. I don't know if it's one of your books or something like that. You got to use that for something. Plan for
Okay.
peace. That's so
Let me write
powerful.
that down.
Please write that down, please. Oh, that's good.
This is
Plan
not
for
on a day
peace.
one page in the journal. It's on a ideas page in the journal. We ain't
Okay,
starting
okay.
over. We're just adding on.
Not again, not again. We ain't going back. Oh my goodness. Do not look back. Do not turn into a pillar of salt. Man. So again, unless you have any other questions, I affirm, I stand behind what you say 1000%, because I know sometimes it could just seem like I might be giving tacit approval, but I can't even add anything to that, because what you're saying is absolute facts and it will change your life.
Yes.
Like these are the steps I'm taking.
100%.
Again, to the quote unquote average person, my lifestyle may seem insane. Like it seems like a monk. Like again, the reason I told myself at that moment when I said I want happiness not to look it, I said I don't even care about teaching it if I don't have it. I said I don't want to teach it if I'm not experiencing it. I said I don't. Because why, like not even just, oh, it's gonna be phony or fake. Like, bro, like why am I giving y'all this game I'm not even putting me on, right?
Right?
So, so I came to a point where I said, because I want this and I desire this, my lifestyle started becoming in tandem. And again, I did have the helping hand of, I was able to get off of, substances. So I knew the experience of transforming from, again, having a certain addiction. Everybody has it at some point. There's something that you have overcome as an addiction in your life, right? That you can use as a reference point. If you truly do the introspection, even as a child, whatever it may be. So I really said, I know what that looks like. And again, one of the main points of contention for us, and I just say, this is going to happen. This is a natural part of the process, right? To that, version of me 2 years ago. The people around you are not going to view you the same because you're not the same, right? So there's going to be resistance in my environment, right? I'm gonna look crazy to some people. I'm gonna look strange. I'm gonna look too serious. I'm gonna look like I'm doing too much, right? Man, damn, you don't ever have no fun. Man, when are you gonna have some fun? Like, you don't understand. I'm having joy, but they can't understand it because they're on their path, right? They're still in that state of seeking pleasure to gratify the senses for the moment. And so for myself, I had to really internalize to be like, bruh, if everybody around you left you, that's actually a gift. If you're on this path, everybody leaving you, that's the greatest gift you could ever get.
Yep.
And the people that are going to saturate your life, the carriers of the world, like that's, I don't even know if, again, I don't, there are things I don't know, so I don't go too deep on them. Like I speculate, like, they talk about like people have contracts before they come into this life that you're going to meet all this type. I don't know if it's true or not, right? I wasn't there when the contract was written consciously in this body, right? But if I was to speculate and say like your true tribe or your true family, etc., like you're not going to meet those people, your soulmate, etc. Those people can't come into your experience if you continue to carry that old world with you. They don't exist in that old world. They're not there. They're here in this now. They're here in this peaceful state. They're here in the truth of who you are, not in the world of distraction, right? Like I say this, and again, I say it with the most respect, and I say it to men and women. I say, bro, like if you're putting yourself out there in a certain way and you're getting a certain response from the women that you want, but not the woman that you truly need, that's on you. That's on you, right? Like you can't expect yourself to put yourself out. I tell, look, I tell my ladies all the time, I say, babe, you say you want this type of man, a righteous man, but you putting all these poses, you throwing it all out there to the world.
You better preach.
What bait are you putting out for what type of fish, right? Like that's really it. I'm not here to shame nobody. If that's what you want to do and you don't care what type of person you attract, that's perfectly fine. But when you come to me asking me, how do I get this type of man? I don't understand why I'm not able to get his attention, is because he's living not in booty pics, but he's living in how do I develop myself? How do I grow? She's living in how do I become the greatest version of myself? That's what she's living in, not in the foolishness. So it's like everything you desire that you want in your life is on the other side of what Carrie's here teaching y'all. It's on the other side of making that decision, planning for peace. Everything you want is on the other side of this. Everything, right? That's one thing I feel, again, to root it for us. And that's the thing that made me commit my entire life to it. Like for most people, I live like a monk. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't go to the club, I don't do this. I love to work. I love to create. I love to build. You feel me? Like, but it's like, you don't understand the freedom of this when you no longer have to base your life on everybody else's desires for you. Like
no conforming.
No conformity to nothing. A person's version of fun don't even register with you. Peace is freedom. Like this is freedom. This is freedom. So everybody in this life I know wants freedom at some level. All of us. I want it. You want it. Wherever you are in this life and you want more of it. There is no freedom without peace. Period. And that's my closing statement. That's
the mic drop. That's the mic drop
right that's my period right there. Period. With a D and a T at the end.
Well, I have to say, thank you for joining us. Absolutely. And if you stay on after I hit the stop for recording, but thank you for joining us. And I am so still fangirling, but so excited to have you on.
I'm fangirling too now. I say she got bars, man.
Who knew? But yes, we appreciate you, and I think that we'll definitely have to do this again because there was so much here. But thank you so very much, and I hope that you guys walk away with some nuggets and some real life-changing pieces, because that there were so many. There were so many.
Now I got one more question. How do people reach you?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm on Instagram and also on Facebook as Carrie Nicole, and then also on my website at carrienicole.com.
And how can people work with you? Like, do you have programs or anything like that for people speaking that you do? Wink, wink.
So currently developing a program. So definitely work with individual people, but currently developing a coaching program. So
okay, we have to talk after this.
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.